Morning. Can we open up with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's the Koochiching County Board of Commissioners meeting for July 8th. The proposed agenda for the KDA is read on the paper. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with additions and deletions? There's neither an addition or a deletion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to approve the minutes for the April 8th, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Financial business, need to ratify the payment of the second half budget allocation.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approve the January to June accounting report. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approve the April to June paid invoice vendor report.
Move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any new or old business you'd like to talk about? Anybody? Is there any public comment for KDA? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're on to the proposed agenda for the county board.
Thanks, welcome everyone. First item under county business is to approve the agenda with additions and or deletions. Do we have any additions today? No additions or deletions. So the chair would accept the motion as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to approve the minutes from the June 24th, 2025 regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up under financial business, Chair would accept a motion to accept items A, B, C, and D. A being approved June sunrise payment listing. B, approved June payroll and ACH vendor payments. C, approved courthouse claims. And D, approved highway claims.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the claims? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. I think we had one question, Adam, about the payment to the American. Would that be for the abatement process or the abatement schedule? Okay, we're just making sure.
But my guess, I'd have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay. And that's 2 payments, twice a year, twice a year they get, okay.
They can ask for it twice a year, yeah.
Okay, or receive it once a year.
After they paid it back, we pay it back, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, next up is to approve a warrant void in the amount of $26.28 due to a lost warrant, and the affidavit is on file.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the void? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to ratify payment of the second half budget allocations. Not to accept a motion to ratify those payments as presented. The total is $171,245.56. And these are the approved payment of the second half 2025 budget appropriations as attached. And they're Arrowhead Regional Library, Borderland Humane Society, Citizens of Bacchus, County Fair, North Home District Fair, Little Fork Historical Society, Drug Court, North Home Library, Northland Counseling Crisis Unit, KCCTV, SWCD, for a total of $171,245. And just one question, Adam, on that is the extension is not included in this. Is that?
They bill us quarterly, I believe,
Oh, okay.
for that.
All right. That's why. Okay. Great. Chair would accept the motion to approve those budget appropriations.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunt.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the allocations? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up, consider approval of small city grant appropriation from the GNTL and from the Great Northern Transmission Line taxes. And in summary, this motion was 227 of 2018. Motion by Skowrow, seconded by Rye, to approve the 2018 appropriation of 25% of the tax revenue generated from the Great Northern Transmission Line to be apportioned as follows: 23 to Big Falls, Little Fork, North Home, and Rainier, and 8% to the city of Mizpah, and further to review this appropriation on an annual basis. Consider allocation of 2025 Great Northern Transmission Line funds to the small cities as per above board motion. The recommendation is to approve appropriation of 25% of the revenue generated from the GNTL to be apportioned as follows: 23% to Big Falls, Little Fork, North Home, and Rainier, and 8% to the city of Mizpah. So it is unchanged. And we approve this annually. This can change. It can go up or down. This is part of the small cities budget. Imagine that where this line goes through. So it's
How are the percentages arrived at?
25% of the total tax collected is apportioned per the percentage of the small city. 75% the county retains.
Right, but I mean, the 23 to the cities and 8 to Mizpah. How is that determined? Just
I'm not sure. In fairness, perhaps per population, they're about the same size communities. Rainier is a little bit bigger, I guess. They have a few more population, but Big Falls, Little Fork, and North Home are fairly similar in size, a couple hundred people. Rainier, I think, is considered about 500 or 600 there.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I don't think it's changed since 2018. But we do review this as part of the budget process, you know, so if there wants to be changes, I would suggest that be the process, then we give the cities notice prior to their budget season too. I had Northam call me just last week asking questions about it, you know, how does it work and how is it determined and when do we get it? So they're looking for it, you know, so.
Right. Those amounts for the small cities, Mizpah is 28,716, Rainier is 82,558, as is Little Fort, Great Falls, and Northland. So it's a significant amount of money for those smaller budgets. So, some of the thoughts and considerations, if you remember from last year, you can change this and retain more of that for the overall county budget. There's always that perspective of if you pull it back, well, they'll have to raise it there, and that's kind of some of the thought. And I know you guys represent a lot of these outside cities, and whatever your thoughts are on that. I mean, it's kind of the direction that we would take. So,
Mr. Chair, there is some fluctuation in the amount we receive every year based on the state assesses that, any type of utility. So based on the state's assessment, that determines what taxes we're going to collect. So when we budget off what we got the year before, but we don't know until about February of the current year what we're going to get. And so I think from 23 to 24, it went down, the amount received. Now from 24 to 25, I saw an increase again. So it's all based on how that's assessed and if they go to tax court or anything like that.
So those numbers that I mentioned could potentially change a little bit up or down. In other words,
Right, if we're doing that based off a percentage, which is, it would change based on what the assessed value is. And
So that was my question. The assessment is made by the state.
correct.
Public
Yeah.
Utilities Commission or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. The Department of Revenue handles that, so I know Len doesn't do the utilities. So based on that process.
then if they're wrong, they can blame themselves. Maybe. The wishes of the board.
I'll make a motion to give it the same. I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Roach, to leave the percentages and allocations, the percentages for the small cities as it presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up, human resources, a couple of separation to approve.
Yep. So the first one is Deb Larson is a public health nurse, a full-time public health nurse. She's been employed about 18 years. She is looking to retire September 3rd, and so we're looking to approve the separation and to fill her position.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Lopes. Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
Debbie, thanks for all your hard work.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for all your years of service. And good luck in the future. And this is to backfill as well?
Yep.
All right. All right, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
The next, we're seeking board approval to accept, or to, for employment separation of Meredith Wilson. She's a full-time child support enforcement officer. That was effective July 2nd, and to approve the backfill of this position.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the separation? Against, thank you, Meredith, for her service. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up is consider approval of off-sale intoxicating liquor license and tobacco license. This is for M&S Stores LLC, formerly Rainy Lake Spirits. The DBA is Snack Attack for off-sale intoxicating liquor, tobacco license. License period is for July 16th, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. And this has been approved by the liquor license committee.
Just a change of name.
That looks usually when they're midstream, yes. Looks like they're just changing the.
I think it was changing ownership. I think this was going through last summer and never.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I remember right.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
I think there's a motion.
Industrial.
Yeah, I made a motion.
Thank you,
I'll second
Commissioner.
that.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. A second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is consider approval of off-site legal gambling permit. Requesting board approval of LG 220 application for exempt permit for Whitetails and limited exempt gambling. This raffle is to be conducted October 11th, 2025 at the Birchdale Community Center, Birchdale, Minnesota. This is an annual event.
I'll make a motion. I won the Top Gun last year at that, so we're going to do it again.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrison. Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the motion?
A 350 Weatherby Legend.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Shot it once.
Well, that's great. It sounds good, and they have some good prizes.
Save it for my grandkid.
I've got more numbers. I got grandkids today now. So.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to ratify contract settlement with ASME 65 Public Health and Human Services. Administrator Cole?
Sure. So we came to a tentative agreement on April 10th, 2025. Quite a bit of administrative work on both sides to get the contract changes in place, but we've got that in place now. So the contract in your packet is a red line version of the contract. It was easier to read what changed than just giving you the new contract. That's why those dates were different. But in the ones that we'll sign and approve that I have here, everything's accurate.
Okay.
So I just wanted you guys to be able to see. So like when you go back to that back page, if it has a line through it like that, that means it's being replaced.
I got you.
So
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's just easier to track what was changed in those red line versions than to put the new contract in there. But the economic package was the same as the other groups, 3.5% fluoride in 25, 3% in 26, 3% in 27. Other minor changes related to, I think there was an increase in some on-call pay. There was changes obviously for ESST and some of those statutory changes. Otherwise, minimal changes in the contract. The unique piece with Health and Human Service contract, there were a couple positions in public health that were not part of the union, and they asked to join the union. So there's an MOU that will need to be approved with this too, to bring in public health nurses and the public health educators into the AFSCME union. And so that's part of what we've been working on the last month or so, is to understand that and to work through that process. But they will now be joining the union effective ratification of the contract and the MOU. So it's kind of a package deal with this. So before today is we're asking the board to ratify the contract and the MOU for the 25 through 27 years.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. One question, Adam,
Yep.
on the MOU.
Correct.
How did that land so far as determining seniority transfers in and out of that department, let's say?
So seniority for the department, and the Department of Public Health and Human Services is defined as, Public Health and Human Services is one department. So it's all of the, social services, it's public health, it's finance, it's child support, everybody's under the same department. So for department seniority, these positions that are being added will have seniority effective today. So they will, because they have paid dues, and so their department and contract seniority will start today. As far as classification seniority is by position. So if there was ever any decision that needed to be made with public health nurses, for example, their seniority by classification will be their hire date. So retain that if there needs to be any changes within their classification, but department-wide is today. And that was presented, the union presented that to their members, and they voted on both the contract and the MOU, so.
So then the transferring of, so then you're eligible once the seniority starts, and you're now, even for grant-funded positions, you're now eligible to move to a non-grant-funded position outside of that department with this agreement.
Yep, we had discussions and concerns about that, you're taking a grant-funded position versus maybe a more secure permanent position. We brought that to the union and said, is the members aware of this? And so they did say they brought it back, and that went to the vote as well, as far as, and they were okay with it as a majority anyway, so.
All right. We have a first and a second. Any other discussion? And then I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, ratify contract settlement with Local 49 Highway Environmental Service Departments. Again, Adam.
Yep. So again, we had negotiated with the 49er group here the last several months. We came to a tentative agreement on April 29th. And we're notified that they ratified, or that they voted to ratify the agreement. As part of their agreement, we had to do some building in our payroll system to accommodate the central pension fund contribution. So that took almost 2 months to build and to test it to make sure that it worked. But we got it working. So the 49ers, again, their COLA was 3.5% this year, 3% for 26 and 27. We did agree to allow the employees to contribute to the 49ers Central Pension Fund. So they voted to contribute $1 per hour of their wages this year, $1.50 in 26, and $2 in 27. And that will be contributed on all hours paid up to 40 hours per week. So if they work overtime, it would pay on the overtime hours. So that's a little bit of uniqueness there. So no county dollars other than just administrative time to manage this. But that's the difference with their contract. So asking again for the board to ratify the contract settlement and the Central Pension Fund MOU for the years 2025 through 2027.
To wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Any discussion?
This was the presentation that union rep made like a year ago, asking the board to contribute. And the members now voted to do that.
Yeah, they contribute into a whole set into the central pension fund, is what it's called. But there's some liability there in the long run if obviously if the fund fails. But I think we would probably share that liability on a much bigger scale. But that's more than likely not ever going to happen. So. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is to ratify contract settlement with ASPA 65, the courthouse chapter.
Yeah, and much like the other ones, this one is the same, 3.5% for this year for COLA and 3% 26 and 27. I think the AFSCME group, I think there was a minor adjustment to the promotional language. The promotional language used to read, you take a promotion that removes the step on the scale that results in an increase. And for some positions that was maybe 20 cents. So they felt like for taking a promotion, they should get a little bit more than 20-cent increase for a higher graded job. So I believe now when they promote, they'll get at least a 2% increase. So depending on, at a minimum, a 2% increase. They'll still fall on the scale, but it'll most likely bump them up an extra step when they promote. So they'll get more of a significant increase in a promotion. So that was unique there. Ricky, anything else with courthouse that I'm missing on the uniquenesses? No?
To the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second. Go ahead. I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion?
I would just like to thank the negotiating committee and the board for, it's always a long process to work through some of these contracts. We started probably back in October. We started negotiating in October, but we really started probably a year ago and prepping for negotiations. So it's a long process, and I'd like to thank our team as well as the staff for being patient in that process. I want to make sure we have it right. It's understandable in the contract, and I think we did a good job in doing that this year. So.
Yes, absolutely. Very good job.
A lot of work involved in that new vacation thing. That took a long time to get that figured out between all the groups, but once we got it down, it was good.
Oh, that's good. Just streamline. It's always a process, I'd like to say.
I learned a lot.
Much appreciated. All right. Did we vote on that yet? I'm sorry.
No.
All right, we have a first and second, Commissioner McIntyre and Commissioner Roach.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to approve county attorney wage and benefit package for 2025 through 2027 and set their 2025 salary. As per Minnesota statute, the county board shall set the annual salary of the elected county attorney. The personnel committee informed the county attorney that they would be recommending a 2025 salary of $130,562 to the board. The county attorney met with personnel committee and requested in 2025 an 11%, 2026 2.5%, 2027 2.5%, using Pennington County as a comparable, or 2025 5.5%, 2026 3%, 2027 3%, and a step increase for each of their staff. The personnel committee reviewed this request and is maintaining its recommendation to the board to approve the enclosed wage and benefit package for the county attorney for 2025 through 2027 and set their 2025 salaries as follows. 2025 would be a 3.5% COLA, which is comparable to everyone else that is there. We had a lot of discussion on this and understand that. I think in the discussion, we discussed that we did recently have a job study, wage study with comparable counties within the last 5 years. It was before the last 3-year contract had been up for negotiating, and at that time, things were maybe a little more stable, and then kind of the bottom fell out. Inflation rose, inflation came back down, and it just kind of was all over the place there for a while. So, but we had lengthy discussion on this here, and we just didn't feel it would be fair. It'd be great to do. It isn't fair to the rest of the groups to go above and beyond, at least at this point in time. Keep everything in all fairness with everyone else. You start opening that door a little bit. I think it just would be unfair for other persons and other groups that are working with us a little bit. And this is an annual approval if needed. So if there's any issues from year to year, this approval would be again coming up at the end of this year for the elected positions like that. So this is just another opportunity to again, it isn't locked in for 3 years. This could be reviewed again at the end of this year and make another recommendation if necessary. So anything to add, Adam?
No, I think you did a pretty good job. Certainly, like you said, we did a wage study in 2021. The elected officials' salaries were adjusted in 2023 based on that. And so we didn't review any market data this year for any position. And just felt like the county has a long history of applying things the same across all positions until they do a market study and need to do an adjustment. And just felt like that was the fair thing to do, like you said. I know the personnel committee had discussion about before the next set of contracts, so before 2028, to do a market study for all positions again to see where we fall in the market, to make sure we maintain some competitiveness in the market. And that was all communicated back to the county attorney as well to provide reasoning on that. So.
And we are planning to kind of do that in the next couple of years, prior to the end of this
I would like to have a market study done in early 27 in preparation for the new contracts in 28. That way we've got 2 contract cycles with 1 study, and we'll be prepared to do have updated data for the next cycle of contract negotiations and wage setting for all employees, not just union, but elected officials and non-union as well. So.
Wishes of the board. I'll make a motion. Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to adopt resolution to request 2026 IRRB economic development funding. This is where our KDA funding comes from. Varies on amounts just based on the tonnage that's received. I don't exactly have that number in front of me right now. It's 260-ish?
I think it's
160-ish.
Around 170, 167, somewhere in there. At least that's where it's been, I think.
So Anderlock Koochiching County is allocated a percentage of the funding derived from the mining tax on the Iron Range. The county is required to request the funding, execute the funding through a grant agreement with IRRB before payment is made. Request in May, execute agreement in July at the start of the state's fiscal year, followed by payment from full execution of the agreement at the state level. The county utilizes this funding for the next year's economic development budget, which is KDA. The KEDA requests and receives their share of funding separate from the county. And this is just a resolution to request the fiscal year 2026 electric water funding.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
Second. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any discussion on the request? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Next up is Auditor Treasurer, discussion on the Koochiching polls and mail and data. Morning.
Good morning. Okay, I sent out a bit of information in your packet. This is kind of just continuing the conversation that we had at the Committee of the Whole meeting about a month ago. And as we discussed at that time, I'm just asking the board to have a discussion about it at this time and bring it back to the August 12th board meeting to give the public a little bit of time for input and see what response you're getting and what you're hearing. I kind of narrowed down my reasons for making this request, and I put that on the attachment to the RBA. Reason number one being consistency across the unorganized territories. That way all of our unorganized territories are treated the same and vote in the same manner. There's no saying, well, the ones that the northern part of the county have polling places, the ones in the southern and rural do not. My biggest reason is the election judge staffing challenges. Due to the election laws requiring judges to affiliate with a major political party, they have to sign an affirmation. And then at each polling place, it would be up to us as the county staff to ensure that not more than half of the judges on that shift are from the same, or more than half of the judges cannot be from the same political party. You have to have equal representation. On top of that, the judges cannot be related to anyone on the ballot or another judge at that same precinct on that same shift, and that's expanded to include, in law, it's a pretty wide range of relatives. In a small community, believe it or not, that gets very difficult to do or even be aware of. With steps, you're not sure who's aware of, and it gets to be very tricky. And then throw in last minute cancellations when our office is crazy and we have 2 judges from the same poll that all of a sudden have COVID, and you're struggling trying to find a trained judge that's competent and reliable. It's our number one headache at election time. And the other thing is the growing preference for early voting. So many of these voters, about 30% in these 4 precincts, are already voting early in our office. They're not going to the poll. It would be a lot more efficient for our office to just focus on saying all of these voters may show up here in our office and not have to worry about the poll at all. At this point, we're doing both. All of them still can show up in our office. We just don't know. We're hoping that with mailing them an early mail ballot, a lot of them will choose that option to use the mail ballot. They can still bring it in person and deposit it in that machine or drop it in the sealed envelope, but they do have that option to come in and say, no, I want to put my ballot in the tabulator. They can still do that if they're converted to mail ballot. The 18 days prior to the election day and election day, they still have that option, as will all mail ballot voters now. And that wasn't so, but they keep telling us it's going to happen in 2026. They're still trying to fix their computer system to make it work, but we're hoping. And then the cost. I've run a lot of different scenarios. For each election, there would be about a $1,200 additional cost if we make no other changes. That's due to the cost of having them processed and the postage, but yet we lose a lot of election judge expense. So that net cost difference is about $1,200 per election. So 2 elections per year would be about $2,400. But converting all of those to mail ballot voters would make it feasible for us to go back to paper rosters and not use the electronic poll pads. which is a huge push in the public right now, too. A lot of people don't like the electronic rosters. Our judges do. Our judges probably won't be very happy. But that cost, we use pretty much Apple iPads. We call them poll pads. We have to purchase them this year if we're going to continue using them at a cost of about $6,120. They have a lifespan of 6, maybe 7 years. We also have printers that go with them that are an additional $500 a piece, 15 printers. They're good yet this year, but they're about 7 years old. Also, I can really foresee that we're going to have to replace those. So I kind of ran a little amortization over the next 6 years without buying new printers. If we convert these to mail ballot, which allows us to discontinue use of poll pads, we'll have a 6-year savings of about $9,300. Along with just the capital cost, the poll pads have an annual maintenance of $1,800, and that's every year, even if we don't use them. Even if we don't have an election that year, we still pay $1,800 maintenance on those machines. So going forward, 10 years, that's a lot of money in a small election budget. Another consideration, with the early voting, those tabulated machines, we call them the DS200s, we don't have a spare right now. If we eliminate those KPs, the college has their own tabulator. The other ones share with Rainier and the city. We will now have one that we can use for our early vote. If we do not have that one available, we are going to have to purchase another one at a cost of, right now, they're around $7,000 a piece. Plus, then there will be another annual maintenance one machine to annual maintain. So that's my pitch. What are your questions?
So I understand under Koochiching 1, 2, 4, and 5, under Dinner Creek, Jameson, Scarlett, and Meadowbrook, 34 voters would be now getting mail ballots instead of going to Koochiching 1.
Nope, these are two separate columns. The current mail precincts, we now have, those are all that are already mail ballot in the first column.
Okay.
We currently have 1,480 mail ballot voters.
Okay.
And then under the proposed new mail ballot precincts, those are the ones that we want to convert to mail ballot, and how many voters are in each of those precincts.
Okay, the 680, 332, 356, and 313?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you see, Koochiching is our large one, but the other ones, we already have like Central Cooch, Northwest Cooch, Southwest Cooch. They all have similar numbers of voters as KP 2, 4, and 5.
And the people you're looking to convert right now are currently voting either in Rainier or at,
Union Hall or the college,
So-
or St. Thomas.
so if they still want to go to a polling place on voting day, the courthouse isn't much changed for distance related to that. So it just changes the location, but not a lot of mileage, to get to a place to go in person. So they have similar options, but they also have additional options with the mail ballot too.
And these are just these areas that are outside the corporation limits.
Correct.
Okay.
And a lot of counties don't have to deal with this. Most of their townships are organized, so they have a township board of supervisors and a clerk. They run the elections. They have to hire the judges. They hold it in their township facility. We don't. I think there's only 3 or 4 counties in the state that still have to run their own elections. For I think Itasca might have 3 precincts. The ones that do only have a couple of precincts left.
And people can always request a mail-in ballot. Wherever you live, you can.
Oh, yeah, if you live in the city, you can request an absentee ballot anytime, yes.
Was there a difference in voter turnout?
For primaries, yes, there's a huge difference. There's way more voter turnout in mail ballot precincts than there is in in-person precincts. For the general, like in a presidential, not much turnout for difference. In an odd year election, like in a non-presidential, we see higher turnout in the mail ballot precincts. But a substantially higher amount in a mail ballot. Otherwise, people just don't bother to come in on a primary that's not really contentious. And I have a feeling like elections like if in the standalone commissioner races that we had, there was a way higher turnout in the mail ballot precincts than in the polling place precincts.
Well, that's because Alec was so popular.
Yeah.
Have you had any calls or anything from any concerned people?
I have not.
Now, is this being advertised now? Has this been advertised?
Just on the agenda, no.
Okay.
Yeah, and I figured this would be the time for people that are concerned. They'll hear about it at this board meeting.
Okay.
It'll go in the minutes, it'll be in the paper. That'll give, then when we reconsider at the August 12th meeting, that'll give people time to respond. I skipped the next board meeting because it's located, I believe, in Birchdale, and it's not being recorded. I thought that would not be a good time to make an election decision. So,
Is there any requirement of public notice in the papers or anything?
not prior, no, there's not.
Okay.
I just think it's a good thing to do so that the public doesn't feel like we're trying to sneak something in on them.
Right, I think that would be a good idea to advertise it, I think. Is there any consideration of saying that these areas will be,
I guess that's up
I mean,
to the board.
that's almost funny that it isn't necessary.
We have, there's very strict requirement notices after, once it is done, we have to mail them. There's a whole list of ways we can advertise it, and I want to make sure I would like to choose the option that every registered voter, every registered household gets a notice in the mail, plus some good PR in the newspaper about here's your options. Once you're a mail ballot voter, you can do this, this, or this. Get some good social media posts out there.
Yeah, well, that's my concern, I guess, is that that people are understanding what this is, that they're not trying to take any type of.
Well, and that's why I did bring public copies here too, like with the information that I gave in your packet with them frequently asked questions. I thought maybe something like that would be good to have available to the public if people have questions, so that they can see that, you know, here's how the mail ballots are handled, and yes, you can still vote in person. And that this isn't new for our county. We have been doing this since 2018, I believe, and it's going very well.
Thoughts on any type of advertisements on these?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm wondering if Joan would be able to work with information systems on maybe put some on the website, and they could link it to their social media page and just say, hey, you know, the board's considering some voting changes for the county, and then link that right to the page, and that way we can control the information that they can access through that link.
Yeah, if anything on social media, I do want to disable comment. I do on all my posts. I do not want any misinformation or bad information linked to any of the posts or anything that we create.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely important to make sure that we're clear on the voting areas and things. This is to me, it's extremely important to make sure that you have a good voice in your say-so where this is at. So hopefully, just however we can get that information out there, would be something.
Yeah, I don't remember back, I think, when a lot of the current mail ballot precincts went, it was up to the cities, of course, Big Falls, Little Fork, North Municipal, their councils chose to go mail ballot. When the board made the decision for all the unorganized territory, I don't think there was much notice or input. They just said these are going to be mail ballot. Dale, you have a lot of mail ballot voters and Destry. Have you had any kickback or people complaining, or? I personally like it. I'm a mail ballot voter, and I think it's wonderful.
I think it is too.
Especially for people in remote areas that have to drive 5, 10, 15 miles to get to the poll. You know, in November, you're going to have horrible weather. It's nice to be able to just have that ahead of time, get it done. You don't have to worry about it.
And the dieharders that like to go out in person,
They can still do
still
so.
drive. I'd drive 100 miles in a snowstorm to go in person. I just would. I just like the in-person thing. So, but anyway, okay.
But they can do both.
But they
Either
can do
way.
both.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can do either way.
Yeah, so
That
that's
saves you a lot of time and headache and.
Yeah, the finding the judges is getting harder and harder. The cities are struggling too. I mean, I had that many less judges that had to work for the county, that would open up kind of a pool of experienced judges for the other cities to draw from too.
So opposite political parties, how do they have to be registered as a Democrat?
No, they don't. They have to sign a party affiliation form that we have that's confidential. We cannot share it with anyone other than the people in our office that need to know, or the other judges working at their shift on their precinct, because there's certain duties that one from each party are supposed to do. Like if we require curbside voting, if something we have to offer, one judge has to be from each party to go out there. And you know, my job is to follow the laws as written. It doesn't necessarily mean I agree with them. Anyone can sign anything on a piece of paper. That doesn't mean.
Well, so that was my question, and because by law they have to be 5% of what the last vote to be a recognized party, like the Green Party or something.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that?
So we only have the two parties now.
Is that official?
Yeah, and they can affiliate as independent or unaffiliated, but you still have to have, which would be wonderful. We could just say, okay, everyone say you're unaffiliated, but you can't do that. You still have to have representation from each of the parties, and then you can fill it out with unaffiliated judges, but it just makes it,
The state designates the official parties.
yes. And we do get a list. We have to go by a list that's provided from the parties of people that have signed up and checked, yes, they're interested in being an election judge. We are supposed to, quote, exhaust that list before we get other judges. And we only had, I think, one or two people on that list and had no response from them, so. So consensus, do you want me to get something out on our website at least, and maybe a link to social media?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. You're up there.
Hey Garrett. Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
Coming before you today to consider approving me to put my signature on a contract for a billboard to advertise the Credible Minds project, with the caveat that this will only be signed if the state approves the use of COVID dollars to do it. I know you guys are aware of the COVID dollars that were pulled back by executive order earlier this year. The state was able to get some of that money back, but they are holding it at the state right now, and are very particular on what they will and will not fund with those dollars, just because there's a lot of caveats with it. Public Health has submitted a request for this funding for this project, which is something that would have been approved before the federal government pulled those dollars back. But we got the quote, got everything, got that sent into the state, got that request made, haven't heard back from them yet, but because of the dollar amount that it is, I wanted to come before the board today and get your approval for me to sign that contract if and only if we get the money check in hand from the state of Minnesota.
Where was this billboard at? It says Highway 53, the mile marker.
It's by Barsfield.
Yep, that's,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Just south of them.
159.
Yep. Yeah, right in that corridor there where there's several of them in a row there.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, this was something that was planned to be done with the launch of Credible Minds, but the federal government pulling that funding from states, we weren't able to do it, but now the state was able to get some of that back, but they're being very particular with what they will allow as a funding. So once we hear back from them, if it's a yes, here's your check for this, then we'll go forward with it. If they say no, we're not going to fund that, we will not go forward with it. So, but haven't heard back from them yet, and I just wanted to speak to you guys first to see, as long as we get that cash from the state, or that check from the state, we could move forward with this.
Our wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
Also,
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion? Anything else to add?
Nope.
Do we have any statistics on the usage of Credible Minds yet?
Not that I'm aware of yet. I think that'll be coming pretty soon. I believe we get quarterly information on that, and it started in April, end of April. So we should be getting some fairly soon. So let's see the utilization of
Any
it.
comments, success stories, anything you hear?
I can't speak to that as well as like Tara or Linnea would, because they have access to it. But I have heard from different providers and stuff that they like the resource. They've been promoting the resource for us, and we should get the data from the amount of hits and things like that we get on the website and see how it's going. So I know there's been a lot of positive feedback from providers that I've heard. I haven't heard any individual accounts yet, but that's something we may not hear because people would like to remain anonymous. So.
Great. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, next up is environmental service, is to consider approval of amending Rainy Lake RV sanitary design project, engineering services, and authorized payment of Bolton Bank invoices. We have Matt available, I see, perhaps.
I know Matt's traveling, I think he's online, but I just unmuted him. Can you hear us, Matt?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Matt.
I'm in a public space right now, but so if there's a little background noise, I apologize for that. So in any case, the Jackfish Rainy Lake RV Sanitary Design and Construction Project, as you know, is a sewer extension project that's providing sewer service to 43 RV sites. The project has a total budget of $375,000, which is funded through state clean water grants of $300,000, which was allocated through the Boitrous National Park Clean Waters Joint Powers Board, and the county allocation, which is a 25% match of $75,000. The project is over 80% complete, with some electrical service work needing to be completed, and final restoration and final closeout of the project. In 2024, the county board approved entering into an engineering services contract for this project with Benchmark Engineering, and they were acquired by Bull & Mink. And that contract was in the amount of $50,867 based on estimated time needed to complete the work. So they estimated how many hours, and they have their hourly rates. With this invoice that's attached here, the total amount billed will be $52,705.59, which is over the original estimated amount. Engineering services for the project closeout are estimated at another $5,220 for a total estimate for engineering services of $57,925.59. Wagner Construction's bid of $310,524.75, plus the proposed amended estimated engineering services contract of $57,925.59. Totals $368,450.34, and it's less than the estimated total budget of $375. I did receive an email that I attached to the packet from Dean Hellstrom from Bull & Mink, and I'll just read it out loud so they can have that information. So Matt wanted to give you some context regarding our last invoice. We're running over on construction staging observation task 5. We have had to spend additional time on the coordination with Minnesota Power on identifying route for power to the North Grinder Pump Station. Construction has taken longer than estimated. We have projected that the final engineering cost will be at $57,925.59. In reviewing construction costs to date and projecting our final construction costs, we will be under the construction contract amount in the amount of around $25,000. This will put the total project cost around $350,000. So they're estimating that, the numbers I gave you before were based on Wagner's bid, but they're estimating that we may be under in the construction amount. The bottom line is, in order to continue on with the engineering services, I need approval for amending that contract because the wording states that we need the approval before going any higher than the original amount. My recommendation is to approve the amendment for the professional engineering services and to not exceed an amount of $57,925.59 to reflect the work needed to close out the project.
Thank you, Matt. And that's about $7,000 more than what was estimated.
Correct, and they gave the explanation of that they spent a little more time in certain areas, and obviously we want to have them out there during construction and making sure they're coordinating all the things that are necessary to complete the project. But
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Quick question. Will this include them covering the electrical service install for that meter?
So the construction contract includes the meter installation, but that's part of the construction contract, not the engineering side.
Okay.
So the meter, the power to the grinder station at that location is all part of that construction contract.
Okay. Thank you. Wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Anything else to add, Matt? Thank you.
No, thank you very much, and we'll just continue to move forward with completing the project, so thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Great. Next up is public comments. Is there anybody in person or online for public comments? Please.
I'm Stacey Paul, and I am a voter in Ward 2, County Ward 2. Yeah, and I heard Joan talking about moving to mail-in. I have also been a mail-in election judge for the mail-in room since 2016, and I would be in support of my area going to a mail-in.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing no other public comment, I will close public comment. And other county business, roundtable on committee updates. Anybody have any updates to share? Nothing? I don't really have anything right now. It's kind of a little bit of a lull. Any other business, Adam?
No other business.
Great. If there's no other business, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned.